Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. So I am here with the second installment to my Fruit of the Spirit Create a Sim mini-series for The Sims 4. If you weren't aware, the Fruit of the Spirit is sort of characteristics of God that you obtain after you are living through the Holy Spirit. If you missed the first video of the series, I'll link it in the cards above because I explain more of what the series is going to be, and we also cover the topic of love. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check out that video. But we're going to go ahead and get into the Bible verses that relate to joy. And then afterwards, I'm going to recommend you guys a song that I really love relating to this fruit. Alrighty, so the first verse is Psalms 35, and that reads, "For his anger may only endure for a moment, his favor a lifetime. Weeping may last for the night, but joy comes in the morning." This is actually something I tweeted out a little while ago. It used to be my screensaver, but it's something that it's a verse that really resonates with me. Like, I feel like a lot of people nowadays just deal with a lot of mental illnesses, they deal with a lot of depression, they deal with a lot of sadness, but reading this sort of verse kind of reminds you that, okay, sadness was a worldly thing, you know, it's temporary, and God's love is everlasting, you know, joy, like, we think of sadness as in darkness, which is kind of what I related to, and then this verse saying joy comes in the morning kind of reminds me of, like, when you think of the morning, you think of brightness and light, and you know, this world is in darkness, but you know, the heavens is in the light. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but that's just kind of how I sort of interpreted it, and I just really love this verse. The second verse I wanted to share is James 1 verses 2 through 3, and that reads, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Now this verse I decided to throw in here because, you know, the person writing this verse is saying consider it pure joy when you're going through hard times. And a lot of people don't equate going through rough things as being, you know, joyful. You know, they think it's horrible. You need to avoid being sad. It's not something that's you're supposed to aim for or supposed to strive for. But what this person's saying is how consider it joy, because when you're going through rough times, it's when your faith should be the strongest. You know, you never hear testimonies of people, you know, coming to God when everything was perfectly fine and happy in their lives. You know, no one says that. You always cling to God when you are struggling the most. And this verse kind of just exemplifies that idea of how consider it joy when you're, you know, you might be going through rough things, but it causes you to develop perseverance and to cling to the Lord and to know how to get yourself back up again. So even though you might be going through a hard time, joy can come out of that, and the learning experience can also evolve from the melancholy that you may be going through. Another thing I wanted to sort of make sure I clarify is that you shouldn't just cling to God when things are going bad for you. You know, you should cling to God in the good times and in the hardest parts, because He is eternally good and eternally faithful. But what this verse specifically is saying is how don't run away from God when things aren't going your way, because God isn't the reason for your sadness. God brings joy. The only reason bad things happen in this world is because we live in a sinful world where people have sinful nature. So I just wanted to clarify that real quick. But the next verse I wanted to share is Nehemiah 8:10b, which says, "For the joy of the Lord is your strength." This is one of my very first memory verses in church, actually. The verse is what it says. For the joy of the Lord is your strength. The thinking of God and thinking of the Bible and of church and of Jesus, that should just bring you joy and strength. That should be the source of your joy. You know, you should find strength in God as opposed to finding strength in yourself. So the next verse is Romans 15:13, and that reads, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." Once again, this one is kind of talking about when you trust in God, that should just fill you with your joy. You know, the God of hope will fill you with joy and peace as you cling to him. The second part of the verse says, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. You know, joy and peace and hope should all come with just believing in the Holy Spirit, you know, which is the Holy Spirit produces the fruit of the Spirit, which one of them is joy. So, it all connects. It all connects. God should just be your source of joy and peace and strength. So those are all the Bible verses that I have, but there is one quote that my pastor said that I thought would be very beneficial. And this says, "You can't expect superficial faith to result in supernatural joy." And that really just shows how people, they always expect God to just work for the good of them. And that is true. It does say in the Bible that God works for the good of those who love him. That'll also be talked about in another episode of this mini-series when we talk about goodness. But people always expect God just to do good for them, but they are not actually committed to God. You know, a relationship with God can be a one-sided thing where God does good things for you, but you're not gonna, care about, being faithful to him. So I just wanted to end off on that quote. And one more thing, I wanted to recommend a song for you guys. So the song of this video is "Alive" by Hillsong Young and Free. Yes, another Hillsong song, but I really like it, and it really just has to do with just God's love and joy and the freedom you have with God's joy. So yeah, I'm gonna end off with that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and let me know what you think in a comment down below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye everyone!